everyone in this room has something in common. What do you guys think that is? We all come from different backgrounds and we all have different life experiences. But I dare to say that we have personally knew or have experienced firsthand a mental disorder. While there are many different diagnoses, and with each diagnosis unique to the individual, I can say the majority of students may feel like they are alone in their struggles. Although common, mental disorders are not commonly talked about. Today, I am going to define the definition of a mental illness. After that, I will give some statistics on the popularity of mental illness for students. And lastly, I will talk about what the DRC is and the first step to getting accommodations for classes. The definition of mental illness, according to the National Alliance of Mental Illness, is a condition that affects a person's thinking, feeling, behavior, or mood. Some examples are anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD. So, anxiety is a feeling of intense worry. It's that feeling of doom and like there's something bad that's going to be going on, and the feeling of not being able to control anything and just having to endure whatever doom is coming. Some symptoms may be an intense heart rate that just keeps beating, sweating, and that feeling of restlessness. It's just feeling like you are out of control and just cannot do anything to feel better. And then depression is a feeling of intense sadness. One may feel like they can't do normal things, everyday things like showering, eating, and getting out of bed because they have this intense feeling of despair and all they could do is sleep. And then post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD, is a disorder where one cannot heal from a past experience. This could be seen in veterans sometimes who have been in war, and maybe hearing like fireworks or gunshots bring them back to that time of when they were in war, and they get flashbacks maybe, and maybe they get like nightmares and they try to avoid those kinds of situations. So that's what PTSD is, and all of these disorders are very common. People just do not like to talk about it. Now that we know what a mental illness is, and we have some examples, I'm going to share with you the results of a nationwide survey regarding college students and mental disorders. With the instability everyone is facing today, it's hard to know what lies ahead. But one thing we can count on is the rise of mental disorders. So according to this nationwide survey, half of students in fall 2020 screened positive for depression and or anxiety. So half of the classmates in this room are likely struggling with a mental disorder of depression and or anxiety. And then not only that, the survey further reveals that 83% of students said their mental health had negatively impacted them to their academic performance within the past month. So this isn't something that just happened in the past. This is something that happened recently, and it's continuing to happen. So what can we do? We all have struggles, although it may seem like we are alone. Today I shared with you what the definition is of mental illness, how common mental disorders are for students, and now I am going to talk about the DRC and how to get started. So, what is the DRC? The Disability Resource Center, commonly known as the DRC at Clackamas Community College, supports students with disabilities. This includes mental health disorders. The most common way the DRC does this is by meeting up with students individually to talk about what accommodations may be needed. Some accommodations include extra test time, assignment extensions, as well as early access to classwork. So how do we get started at the DRC? The first step to getting started at the DRC is to email documentation of your diagnoses. Some examples of documentation are IEPs, 504 plans, and documentation from a certifying professional. You can email your documentation or reach the DRC for any questions at drc@clackamas.edu. So with all this information, with knowing what mental illness is and how common it is and what the DRC is, how to get help, I hope each of you will reach out to the DRC if you are struggling and know that you are not alone. Thank you.